Or can I use
You
my
can use
comfortable?
Tagalog or whatever,
Okay
as
po.
long as we understand.
Ayan po. Based on my understanding lang po, sabi po kasi 5 p.m. the slide was covered with bacteria. Tapos it was noted that every hour, the area covered na may bacteria po is nagdo-double. So, I assume that in 4 p.m., kalahati na po yung na-cover since, or like for example, one square centimeter na po yung na-cover nung area since nagda-double po siya. So by 5 p.m., naging ano na po siya, na-cover na po lahat, ganon.
That is correct. Okay, so that's one way to justify your answer. The correct answer is 4 p.m. This is an example of a problem solving. Okay, and a problem solving that can be solved by what we call logical reasoning. Okay, so congratulations for those. Okay, who were able to get that. Okay, so these are our learning outcomes. Okay, so for module 3, you should be able to, after we discuss, after the activities, after the problem solving discussion, after the cooperative learning activity, you should be able to differentiate inductive from deductive reasoning. And then you should be able to, apply what we call the four-step process in problem solving. When you say problem solving using Paulian's four-step approach, okay? And also use other strategies to solve problems, okay? Different types of problems. It may be real-life problems, money-related problems, and other types of problems, okay? So ito lang yung learning outcomes and our goal for this afternoon, okay? So to start, okay, we have to define what is a problem and when is a question considered a problem, and also what is a problem solving. Okay, Gabriel Alvarado, what is a problem?
Ma'am, excuse po, yung logic and ano po, hindi pa po na-discuss po.
This one? Yeah, that logic, and that's already asynchronous learning. So I already assumed that that's why I was asking you if there are questions, okay, that you encountered as you studied yung module 2. Okay, usually we have the logic that's already part of senior high school kasi we have asynchronous and we have what we call synchronous learning. Okay, so when I say asynchronous learning, self-paced yon, you're going to study the module, and then we have this synchronous. That's why I was asking you a while ago, okay, if there are problems, okay, with regard to what is a set, okay, the different types of set operations, union, intersection, and it's expected that you have studied it. Kaya nga meron tayong mga pre-test, yung mga test after that, the exercises there, okay? So yun. So I was the one asking a while ago. Okay, and there were no questions, that's why we move already. Our schedule, if you try to check the schedule or learning plan, is we're supposed to do now the art or what we call problem solving on module 3, which we will be discussing all of the topics now that we're going to have on this mathematics in the modern world. Kaya lang general problems ang i-discuss natin. So what's the problem there? Gabriel. Okay, so there are no questions. Okay, we
excuse me po.
Yes.
I would like to ask for additional references po about the concept of tautology po. Kasi medyo nako-confuse po kami sa sa pagkakaintindi po.
Yeah, tautology is, okay, whatever, it's all true. Okay, so it's one type, okay? If you're going to make the truth table, all everything will be true on the final outcome. Whatever it will be true. Kaya nga, it is what we call tautology. Okay, so tautology is all true, always true yan. And we have propositional logic. Okay, did you not have, we have that in your senior high school, yung tautology, okay, when we have the equivalence, and so on. And that is part of your activities that I've given you in the module and the exercises. Okay, so I'll be sharing you other notes on that tautology then. Okay?
Thank you very much po.
Yes. Okay, a simplified version, more on that specific tautology. Although tautology is just part of the propositional logic. Okay? So always false. Okay, pag contradiction naman, whatever you do, it will always be false. Yung final truth value niya. So if it's tautology, the truth value will always be true no matter what happens. Okay? Okay, so we move on. What is a problem? How do you consider a problem? So a problem, let's say that tautology is not a problem. Okay, so it only becomes a problem if the procedure or method of solution is not known immediately. Just like the problem I've posted, no, on the bacteria. Okay, so okay, you don't know immediately, no, kung ano yung solution for that. What will you do to solve that question? Okay, so it becomes now what we call a problem. So that question I've given you is considered now a problem because you don't know, no, the immediate method or specific solution to solve that. It's not indicated in there. Okay, so that is what we call problem according to George Paulian. Okay, aside from that, it's also a problem. Okay, a problem is a situation in which a person wants something and does not know immediately what series of actions he can perform to get it. Okay, so that's another way to define a problem. Okay, to have a problem means, no, furthermore, Paulian said, to have a problem means to search consciously for some action appropriate to attain some clearly conceived but not immediately attainable aim. Just like what you are, okay, what we are doing now. Okay, so you are given that tautology. You're supposed to review that and you were not able to understand. So what you do is to search more for certain what we call this reference materials. Did you check our IM? Meron tayong uploaded na general IM for both online and correspondence. Okay, which is different from the module I've given you. When I say different, yung presentation. My presentation is simpler. Ang ganda ng mga pinos ko under module 2. We also have what we call this. I'll be giving you another YouTube, okay, what we call this open educational resources. Okay, if the problem is tautology, I'll give you that. Kaya nga ang online, what we call this classes is not just similar to what face-to-face na you will just listen to your teacher. Iba, no. Don't depend on the teacher. Kaya nga we have asynchronous and synchronous learning, wherein not every topic will be discussed just like what you are now, unless there are questions. Okay, kung medyo mahirap. No, I assume that yung what we call these steps, there's no problem with that. Kaya I pick it as one of the asynchronous classes. Okay, asynchronous class. Kapag medyo what we call this, like there's a problem with it, then we do synchronous classes because as you can see, not everybody can join us, no, on Zoom, okay, or what we call the synchronous class. Kaya yung mga modules na yon, it will help you. Now, siguro hindi lahat, what we call this, not all of you were able to get it, okay, pero konti lang sa inyo hindi nakakaintindi, okay, then you try to search more and still you can understand, and that's the time that you can ask me, okay, for more what we call as resources. Okay, so I can give you more of that. Okay, now the degree of challenge a question gives a student is what makes it a problem or not. Okay, so when we try to what we call solve these problems, then we have what we call problem solving. Okay, so what is a problem? How do we define problem solving? Anyone who would like to read? Will you raise your hand? Gamitin nyo naman yung raising ng hand na button dyan. Maylene Rose. Thank you.
Yes po. Engaging in a task for which the solution method is not known in advance, in order to find a solution, student must grow in their knowledge, and through this process, they will often develop new mathematical understandings.
Okay, so that is problem solving. So a while ago, you were engaged what we call a problem solving because you were engaged in a task for which you don't know the solution, no, or the method that you're going to use to solve that in advance. Now you're going to use yung previous knowledge nyo, logical reasoning, review yung parang, oh, is there a formula? Okay, parang ganon. That is what we call problem solving. And there were those who were able to find the solution or the answer to the problem I've given you. So they were able to solve the problem. Okay? And another way, okay, so in solving problems, we have what we call mathematical reasoning. Okay? Mathematical reasoning. It refers to the ability of a person to analyze yung problem situations and construct ng logical arguments to solve the problem. Okay? So, that is what we call mathematical reasoning. And when is a mathematical reasoning correct? Okay? There are two types of reasoning. Okay? We have what we call the inductive and deductive. I'm sure you're familiar with this, diba? Yung sa science dati, we have the inductive method, we have the deductive method, both in the field of education, sa teaching, also it applies to everything. We also have what we call the inductive and deductive reasoning. Anyone who can still remember yung difference nito? Inductive versus deductive. When saying inductive, don't forget, it's the process of making yung general based on specific examples. So examples. From those examples, you form a general conclusion. So from specific to general, yun yung inductive. The deductive is the reverse, okay? From general to specific, okay? So human beings are said to be rational creatures because we use reasoning to come up with sound decisions. Supposedly, supposedly ganon, okay? But there are many who just base their decisions based on their hearts. Kung ano yung nasa puso nila, ganon na lang, okay? But no. Okay, so reasoning is our ability to use logical thinking to come up with a decision, okay? We can make a lot different decisions. You can make a decision based on your whatever you feel, based on emotion, which is wrong, or you can make some decision based on what we call logical thinking or good reasoning. Okay? Inductive reasoning. Someone who uses inductive reasoning makes specific observations and then draws a general conclusion. Yung sinasabi ko kanina, from specific examples to general conclusion. Deductive is a specific conclusion follows a general theory. Okay, so general to specific. Yung iska, specific to general. Ganun lang naman yung two types of reasoning. Okay? Questions on that? Deductive and inductive. Examples for you to understand more, okay? Will you read the first example? An example of inductive reasoning. Anyone? Raise your hand. Gamitin natin yung mga raising ng hand, posting a chat. Anybody would like to read? Well, use your microphone. If you have a microphone, test nyo na ngayon. Lennon. I like the name Lennon Romo. Parang si John Lennon. Okay, Lennon.
Yes po. Number 1 example. Every object that I release from my hand falls to the ground. Therefore, the next object I release from my hand will fall to the ground.
Okay, so that is using the inductive reasoning. Okay, so every object that you release, so every specific examples. Okay, and then generalization that every object you release from your hand will fall to the ground. Okay, another one. Anybody else? Okay, use your microphone. Sige na. Anyone? Kasi I can see everyone. I just see my screen. I still don't know how to. Pwede pala, no? Mag-join ako. Dapat dalawa. Two participants raise their hand. RJ.
Any po, ma'am.
Yes. Number 2.
Number 2. Every crow I have ever seen is black. Therefore, all crows are black.
Okay, so if that is the statement, then we call that inductive reasoning. Thank you. Next, anyone else?
Ma'am,
Anyone
excuse
else?
po. May gusto
Yes?
po atang pumasok.
Again? Meron? Okay, so Sophia, I'm sorry. And then Alexi Alvarez. Okay, thank you. Oh, hindi ko napansin din na nagano. Okay, another example, if let's say 1 is add and 3 is add. If I add these two odd numbers, the result is 4, which is an even. How about 5? 5 is add, 7 is add. I add them. 5 plus 7 is 12, an even number. Okay, again, another 13 is add. Okay, 13 is add, and then black ends add. So you try to continue trying, okay? From there, from those specific observations and examples, I can conclude then that the sum of two odd numbers is always an even number. Okay? So that is based on inductive reasoning. Okay? So when you say inductive, let's say na tama lahat yung sinasabi natin. Okay? So that is my reasoning there. Okay? And then another, for all of the managers at my office have college degrees. Therefore, you must have a college degree to become manager. That will be another example for inductive reasoning. Okay? And then we have, anyone would like to read another example? Okay, meron pang dalawa ulit. Anyone? Sophia, Dion, dalawang. Anyone else?
Mama ko po. In the past 30
Yes,
days,
okay.
we observe that the sun has risen in the east. Using inductive reasoning, we may conjecture that the sun will rise in the east tomorrow.
Okay, so again, based on inductive reasoning. Oops, anong nangyari? Wait lang. Sorry. What happened there? Oops. Nag-jump na siya. Okay, dito tayo. Okay, so we can have more examples as long as we have from specific examples or observations, we make a conjecture or a general conclusion. That is inductive reasoning. And we can also use inductive reasoning to predict a number. Okay, so predict the next number. Okay, 3, 6, 9, 12, and then based on these examples, or you can say that the next number will be 21. So ganon, that is inductive reasoning. Okay. Now, sometimes, how do you know? Okay, all crows are black. Ano yung sabi ko nina? Every crow I've seen is black. Therefore, all crows are black. Unless somebody can show or can give a counter example to disprove yung conclusion mo. We call that a counter example, no? So we have what we call a counter example. Logically speaking, we cannot prove a general statement from a number of specific examples, right? Okay, like one, sabi ko, the sum of two odd numbers is always even. So, alangan namang ilagay mo lahat ng examples of adding all odd numbers, di ba? Okay, so one way to disprove it is to provide, ano bang nangyayari dito? Is to provide a counter example. Okay, so you provide a counter example. And when you say a counter example, it's a statement that makes or shows that a statement or general conclusion is false. If you can give me two odd numbers that when added is not an even number, then that will be what we call a counter example. Okay? Kasi it's very impractical to be giving all examples just to show that the sum of two odd numbers is always even. So how do we disprove that? Give me a counter example. Just want to show you or to define a counter example. Okay, but we go back to the two types of reasoning. Okay, then we have deductive reasoning. Deductive reasoning does not rely on examples as inductive reasoning is. No, we make our conclusion based on general statement whose truth value is known or assumed. Okay, from a general statement, then we have these specific examples. Kung baga parang yung inductive reasoning is for science, no? Science is the application of inductive reasoning, okay? Kasi every statement in science is considered a theory. The only way to prove it is to collect more evidence. Collect. Okay? Yan ang inductive. While mathematics naman is deductive reasoning, no? Deductive reasoning applied to relations among patterns, shape, forms, and structures. Okay, so deductive reasoning is always valid. Okay, it makes use yung undefined terms like axioms, theorems, and rules of inference. We're going to give an example. Okay, for example, starfish are invertebrates. Patrick is a starfish, therefore Patrick is an invertebrate. Or another one, every rational number is a real number. The number square root of -1 is not real, therefore square root of -1 is not rational. Okay, so that's another example. Or all dogs have a tail. Buddy is a dog, therefore Buddy has a tail. That is another example of deductive reasoning. Okay, so it is deductive reasoning starts when you start from things you assume to be true and then draw conclusions that must be true if your assumptions are true. Kagaya nito, every rational number is a real number. Okay, this one is not real, therefore it's not rational. So you make conclusions based on the assumptions that every rational number is a real number. Ito yung assumption natin. Okay, and then we have other specific conclusions that is true. Like all men are mortal, that's your assumption. I am a man, therefore I am mortal. So the basis here is the general principle. If P implies Q and Q holds, then Q must follow. Okay? But we're not going to be very technical in our discussion nito. Okay? Unlike if you are in the computer science, or computer science major, then we have to be very specific here. Okay, itong another example for deductive reasoning. Yung assumption nyo is the sum of supplementary angles is equal to 180 degrees. Okay? Now, given two supplementary angles with one of them measuring 120 degrees, angle A is 120. What is the measure of angle B? It says here, the measure of the other angle is 60 degrees. Where does that come from? Yung general assumption. Yung theorem na supplementary angles add up to 180 degrees. Meaning to say, if two angles are supplementary, if you add them, the sum of the angles is 180. So from a theorem, from a general assumption to specific conclusions, okay, or to specific examples. Okay, we can have more examples here, pero wag muna yan. Okay, so as I've said earlier, science is the application of inductive reasoning. Mathematics is deductive reasoning applied to relations among patterns, shape forms, and even changes. Okay, and deductive reasoning is always valid. Okay, so ito, on the left side, we can see inductive from observations to generalizations to a theory. So observations, ito yung mga examples. Examples. And then you can see a pattern there. Ito na yung theory mo. Ito naman sa deductive, there is a theory like the sum of supplementary angles is 180. Ito yung prediction mo. If one angle is 120, therefore, I'll predict, yung prediction mo is the other angle will be 60. Kasi you are basing it on the theory. Ganun lang kasimple. Okay? Now, going back to problem solving, whether that is a logic problem, a problem using Venn diagram, these are the strategies in solving problems. Okay? Now, problem solving is just a skill, so you need to practice. Every person does problem solving every day, di ba? Problem solving is the ability for you to overcome or remove an obstacle, so that we get what we want. And of course, there are many strategies. Different people, of course, solve problems in different ways. For example, yung kaninang problem na I've given you, some of you are able to get it right away. It may take one person 3 steps or less to solve a problem, but let's say it may take another person more than 3 steps to solve the same problem. Let's say one of you can solve one problem in 5 minutes, yung iba naman, it will take them an hour. Kaya nga yung ginagawa ko in my, yung submission, I don't usually ask you to submit within the day. Diba? At most, 1 week to 2 weeks yung submission nyo. Okay, because I know. And then one student asked me, Ma'am, I was studying yung, nasa correspondence siya, and he asked me, can I use a different method in solving yung Fibonacci sequence dun sa in IM? Because I can't understand yung nasa module, sabi niya ganon. And I've searched yung YouTube yon, yung sinasabi ko. That's what we call online learning. So he checked yung other sites on YouTube, nag-search siya, and yung presentation doon on the solution of that problem is simpler. Kaya he was asking me, Ma'am, can I use the same method? Is it okay for me not to use the method presented on the module? Sabi ko, yes. In mathematics, no, we can solve a problem in many different ways, okay? As long as you arrive at the same answer and you don't violate any of the mathematical facts, algebraic facts, okay, then go, okay? So, just like in solving problem, there are many strategies, there are many ways, okay? It can be a shortcut, a long cut, okay? As long as you're able to justify your answer, it's okay with me, okay? So, these are the listed strategies. We have the heuristic and we have the traditional method in solving problems. Yung traditional, ito yung George Paulian's four-step approach. Actually, I've been giving this to my students in the US before in mga middle school. We are used to what we call ACIT, no? They're not used to memorizing yung what we call is multiplication table, ganito, ganyan. No, we are more on cooperative, what we call is conceptual understanding. We don't ask our students there to memorize, no? We just ask them, okay, try to understand the concept. Yung concept, that's why in my classes, I don't ask you to memorize the formula. Even if it's a face-to-face, I don't ask my students to memorize formulas. I allow them to write the formulas that they want to use in an index card and then they bring it during the exam. Ganun ang ginagawa ko pag face-to-face, okay? You understand the concept, that will be great. Okay, so, kasi, yung formula, you can just search it online, di ba? And you can see it. So, what's the use of memorizing, di ba? Unless you really have to use it, okay? In a minute, dapat alam mo na, okay? So, that's it. ACE it. When I say ACE, analyze, ginagawa namin, compute, and explain. So, I ask my students to explain, how did you get that? Explain it to a 3-year-old, to a third grader pala. Can you explain it to a third grader, how you got it? Then if yes, very good. You meaning to say you know what you have done. Okay? Or yung upset. Ano yung upset? Understand, plan, solve, and explain, which is similar to George Paulian's four-step approach. Ba yung sabi natin, given, what is unknown, yun yung traditional, okay? So, this is George Paulian's four-step approach. You understand the problem, and then make a plan, carry out the plan, look back at the solution. You say, check if your answer makes sense, okay, or is correct, okay? And other heuristic strategies, as was mentioned a while ago, looking for a pattern, you can use an equation, guess and check, you can draw a diagram, pwedeng listing, tree diagram, work backgrounds, act out elimination, and logical reasoning, or yung inductive and deductive reasoning, pwede rin gamitin yun. Or you solve a problem using combination of all of this, okay? So an example, number 1, class 10 nga, sige. In a seminar, 30 attendees, will you read? Participants. Lennon, will you read? You're still raising your hand.
Hindi po ata siya nawawala, ma'am.
Example number 1.
In a seminar, 30 attendees were present during their meet and greet activity. You're asked to have a handshake with everyone in the room. If each one did handshake with everyone, how many handshakes took place?
Okay, so this is an example of a problem solving. Problem number 1. Okay? How do we answer this? Okay, so let's use George Paulian's 3-step. I-shortcut na natin, ha? Of course, when you do a problem, you have to read and understand. If you didn't get it, read again, read several times, read 7 times, read 7 times 7 until you will understand the problem. Okay? Very shorten na natin. So let's have the first step. Step number 1 is understand the problem. Okay, so you try, okay, in the problem, there were 30 attendees present, so you can write it. No, you don't need to write every word. Okay, so meaning say a simple handshake means letting a pair be recognized. Okay, moreover, we can say that if A shakes hands with B, then B shakes hand with A as well, diba? Okay, 870 by Trisha. Then devise a plan. Okay, so how do we solve? How many handshakes are there? So we can say, ano kayang gagamitin ko? Is there a formula given here? Okay, can I draw? Okay, what else? So we can draw a diagram. So from here, we try to find a pattern. Pwedeng ganon. Then, so you apply the plan. You carry out the plan. If you're going to draw, you draw it now on step number 3. Okay, so the following figures represent the handshakes that took place among 3 people. Okay, you act it out. Pwede rin. Okay, so for 3 persons, yan. Okay, so you can label yung 3 dots as 3 persons. A shakes hands with B shakes hands with C shakes hands with B, for example. Okay, and then so on with 4 and then 5. And later on, okay, notice you can arrive at something, okay, some familiar formula, okay, and then you can check the pattern. A pattern is generalized by, okay, k times k minus 1 will lead to the number of handshakes that took place in a group of k persons. You divide it by 2, okay? So therefore, the correct answer, tama yung sagot nyo, you have to divide it by 2. Okay, so divide it by 2. Which is equal to 435 handshakes. Of course, you have to give time for yourself to analyze and solve a problem. Shortcut lang natin ito because we are just presenting, no? Okay? the strategy. Because even if you solve more and more and more and then you are just listening, okay, you will learn by doing actually, not by listening. Okay? So the correct answer now is 435. Then, after that, okay, nawala. And then explain, okay? So we're going to explain, okay, justify your answer. Go back, okay, check. That is what we call the Paulian's 4-step approach, okay? So understand the problem, you make a plan, carry out the plan, look back at the solution and check, okay? Or let's say we have another, Andrew has some magic cards to trade. Ian has 2 more than 2 times the number of magic cards Andrew has. Patrick has 2. So in certain cases, you should be able to translate, no, these statements into a mathematical expression. Ano bang ibig sabihin ng 2 more than 2 times? So you should be able to, you can have what you call mathematical expressions. Okay, you can make an equation. Okay, so use your previous knowledge, no, on mathematics, okay, algebra. So understand the problem, then devise a plan. We can settle this by working backwards, starting from the number of magic cards Patrick has. Okay, you can also make a table, no, and then after that, carry out the plan. And then, okay, ito na yung plan mo. We have the statements, the arithmetic sense, or the mathematical expression, remarks, okay? And then look back, okay? That's it. That is what we call the Paulian's 4-step approach. Understand the problem, okay? Oh. Make a plan, carry out the plan, then look back. Okay, another way, another strategy in solving problem is looking for a pattern or using the inductive reasoning. For example, I ask you, find the number of matchsticks needed to form a square. 1 square lang. Ilang matchsticks kailangan for you to form a square? You say 4. How about if I ask you to make 2 adjacent squares? How many matchsticks do you need? How about 3 adjacent squares? How about if I ask you to make 4? How many matchsticks do you need? How about if n adjacent squares? Okay, so in here you can use patterns or reasoning here. Okay, so using the patterns and George Paulian simultaneously understand the problem. What are the given? Ano bang given? What are being asked here? What are you going to find? What's the condition? Are there restrictions or condition? Okay? Then devise a plan. So in here, we're going to use looking for a pattern at the same time yung Paulian. Okay? When you look for a pattern, you observe cases systematically, no, from the examples to reach a general conclusion. So pwede ring inductive reasoning. And then carry out the plan. Example, ito. Figure 1, 4 matchsticks, 1 square. Okay? 2 squares na adjacent, I need 7. Tapos, 3, ilan dapat? Ilan? 3, I need 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. O yan, no? It's there on my figure. Pwede you keep on doing that. So, you cannot complete all drawings. So, you try to check from the patterns, How about if I have 8 squares? Ilang matchsticks do I need? And then n. So from here, you can use drawing, you can make a table, listing, or you can derive a formula. Okay? You can have the data, you can make a table, kasi when say pattern searching, medyo matagal, it will take time. I'll not ask you to solve a problem in 3 minutes only, no? Okay, so ito na, 1 square, 4 matchsticks, 2 squares, 4, kasi meron, di ba, meron ng isang, what you call matchstick for the other side. If you try to analyze, no, we're making squares there. So 4 plus 3 times 1 na lang, 4 times 3 times 2, okay? And then you were able to find a mathematical expression. So from here, if I have n squares, the number of matchsticks needed is 1 plus 3n. Okay, yung n is the number of squares. As I've said, if I give this problem parang, what you call this, using the discovery approach, it will take 1 hour for my students to be able to come up with this mathematical expression, 1 plus 3n. Okay? So, I usually give time, no, for students to be able to solve a problem. Hindi yung mabilisan kasi that's not problem solving anymore. So, mas maganda yung discovery. I will not be giving you, ito yung formula, use it right away. Parang ganun, no? Okay? Now, can you give a generalization or statement on how to find the number of matches needed to form an adjacent square? Then you make a general conclusion from those examples. Ito yung what we call deductive reasoning. Using of deductive reasoning, ano pa? We use drawing a diagram, looking for a pattern, tapos yung Paulian. These are the strategies used in solving this problem. Okay? Then look back or reflect. Now, step number 4 in Paulian is see if your generalization is correct. Now, how many matches are needed to form 5 adjacent squares? Pwede bang i-draw mo to prove na tama yung conjecture mo, okay? Or if you have matchstick, show the figure and count the number of matches. Pwede rin ganon. Okay, for you to check or look back. Another strategy, depende kasi sa problem, you can use an equation, okay? For example, the problem I've given you is a rectangular classroom has length that is 1 meter more than 2 times the width. Find the dimensions if the perimeter is 32 meters. When you say dimensions, ano yung length, ano yung width? What's the measure of the length? What's the measure of the width? In this case, you should know a certain formula to formulate the equation. Yung formula ng perimeter of a square. Diba? A square, a rectangle pala. Perimeter formula of a rectangle that will be used for you to be able to make an equation. So we have the what you call this the previous knowledge, no? Understand the problem. Okay, ganun din. What I've given in the problem, what is asked or what's required are the conditions. Okay, how do you find the perimeter of a rectangle? Ano yung perimeter? Anybody? What's the perimeter of a rectangle? Ann Clarice, what's the formula for the perimeter of a rectangle? Diba? Yung mga yun, these are the things that you learn when you were in high school, yung basic, okay? So when I say, I am not asking you to memorize formulas, pero yung mga common na to, you should already know by heart, okay? Na perimeter is equal to twice the length plus twice the width, okay? So if we let W be the width, you go back to the problem, how will you represent the length? Paano i-represent yung length? Yung length, ang sabi dito, length is 1 meter more than 2 times the width. So, that can be written as 1 plus 2W. Okay? So, we apply still what we learned in our past math classes when you were in high schools, junior high, elementary. Okay? Then devise or make a plan. Okay? So, I'm going to use the formula to make an equation. Perimeter is equal to twice the length plus twice the width. Kaya lang, yung length mo is equal to 1 plus 2W. So you substitute that in your, what you call this formula. So 32 is given 2 times. Ano yung expression for the length? 1 plus 2W. So algebraically, solve it. Okay, applying the different concepts. Then you say that W is equal to 5 meters. Okay, so we say if the width is 5 meters, then the length is 1 meter more than 2 times. So length is equal to 1 plus 2 times 5. Therefore, that's 11 meters. So this is an example of a problem that can be used, okay, that can be solved using an equation or a formula. So we have different ways. Look back and reflect. Check mo rin. Okay, we can also have guess, check, and revise. Okay, everybody, will you guess the answer here? Plus 10. Kanina ang plus 10? Si Elsa, Elsa, Miss Andres, Miss Edchon, and yun. Okay, how about here? Number 2, post your answers on the chat box. Guessing kasi, so I'll give you shorter time, no? Additional points, plus 10. Okay, may answer na? Trixie Andres, 12 goats and 8 ducks. 12 goats and 8 ducks. Let's see. Okay, we are given a problem. What's asked or required? What's the condition? Okay, meron pang isang 12, si Trixie 12. So let's see. Okay, you can carry out the plan. You can check and revise. Okay, so the answer is ducks is 8 and the number of goats is 12. Okay, how were you able to guess the correct answer, Trixie? Can you explain to your classmates?
Para po kasing trial and error yung ginawa ko. Ano po, di ba po, sabi 20 daw po yung yung animals dun sa backyard. Tapos ang ginawa ko po, tinry ko po na 10 muna, 10 ducks tsaka 10 goats. Bale, ang legs po nun lahat is 60. Tapos ang ginawa ko po, para maging 64, yung nagdagdag po ako sa goats, tapos nagdeduct po ako sa ducks para po ma-equal yung legs, yung number ng legs, ganun po.
Okay, very good. That is basically the strategy, okay, indicated here. Guess, check, and revise. So that is another way to solve a problem. Thank you, Trixie. That is correct, no? So that is 12 ducks and 8 goats. So because that will check, no, revise nyo when you look back or reflect. No, so that's your answer given the given data. So that's what Trixie had done. No, nag-revise siya. And so 12 goats and 8 ducks. That's correct. Okay. Another one is drawing a diagram. Yung ducks naman na to, pwede rin drawing a diagram. How are you going to do? You draw. Yung kanina yung ginawa niya, no? Ganun din ginawa ko. I draw 20 circles to represent the 20 animals. Tapos, from that, I'm going to draw 4 legs, tapos 2 legs. Okay, 4 legs. So, ilan lahat yan? Kaya lang, tinabad na ako, ang hirap mag-draw isa-isa ng circle. So, ito na yon. Okay? Parang guess, check, and revise then, but with the help of drawing. Sometimes, some of you are visual learners, so it's better if you do it this way. If not, pwede naman sa on your brain, pwede rin ganun lang. Okay? So, we'll arrive at the same answer. Okay? Same answer. We have 12 goats and 8 ducks. Ganun pa rin. Okay? Using a different strategy in that problem. Okay? Okay, so ito na yung binibigay ko lagi, no? Drawing a diagram, okay, some students will make use of an equation. Kaya lang the best method here will be drawing a diagram. A frog is at the bottom of 10 feet well. Each day, it crawls 2 feet up, no? But loses its grip and slides back down a foot. Okay? If it continues this maneuver, in how many days will it reach the top end of the well? Sometimes I edit it and rephrase it as a spider is at the foot of it's at the foot of 10 stairs. Each day it climbs up 2 stairs and slides back 1. Parang ganon. Pwede i-edit din na ganyan. So this is an example of a problem wherein the best strategy is to draw a diagram. Okay? I'll not give you the answer kasi sometimes I'll give it as a problem. Okay? Another is you make a systematic or organized list. Houses on narrow street are numbered from 1 to 60. Tapos, how many house numbers contain at least 1 digit? 5. So, pwedeng listing, no? List, and then you can answer this problem. Or using what you call the Paulian's 4-step approach. Okay? Then, sometimes you can also, if it's a statistics problem, counting problem, we use a tree diagram. So, Annie has 3 skirts. Tapos, 4 blouses. How many different ways can she match her outfits? In senior high, I give this one. No, in my discussion of the counting techniques, fundamental counting principle, if you have 5 pairs of shoes, 5 pairs of pants, and 2 shirts, how many different outfits are there? Oh, so how do you do that? You can make use of a tree diagram or make use of the permutation formula or the counting principle, fundamental counting principle. Okay, ano ba yung fundamental counting principle? That is a formula. Or you can use a diagram. You can use an organized listing. You can make use of a tree diagram. You can use a formula. Ano yung formula? Yung FCP natin when you were in senior high. If one activity can be performed in n ways, another in m ways, just multiply them to make a total find the total number of ways. So kung may 3 skirts ka, tapos 4 blouses, to find the different outfits, you just multiply 4 times 3 equals 12. Okay, so in here, this is a problem wherein you can solve it in many different ways. Okay, so these are just few of the many strategies. Pwede rin combination of everything. Okay, so you can solve problems. The only key, no, is to solve more and more problems, and you'll get to use to it. It's just a skill, so you have to practice. And it's also good to make your brain work, no, problem solving. Kasi we are dealt with different problems every day, and if your brain is not used to solving it, sometimes, no, pag may emergency, it will just freeze. No, hindi na niya alam gagawin niya because it's not used to solve these types of problems. Okay, it may not be a mathematical problem or real life problem. Dapat you try to what you call this practice solving these problems. Ito, I might give this in your group work. Yan, yung mga iba-ibang problems. Okay, now my point here is the essence of mathematics is not to make simple things complicated, no, but to make complicated things simple. Kaya nga yung student, sabi ko, yes, you can use any method, okay? You don't need to do or to follow the method written in your module, okay? You can search, no, simple ones, and that simple ones will be better for you than do it, okay? Okay, and we have other non-routine problems, no, na pwede mang iba-iba. So what's the benefit, no, of problem solving? Okay, so of course, learning to solve problems is the principal reason for studying mathematics, no. It's also an avenue for the application of concepts. It's also an interesting, enjoyable way to learn mathematics. Now you try to make your brain work, okay? Because it enhances what we call yung critical thinking skills and creativity. Okay? Creativity yan. So, yung sabi ko, conceptual approach, I will not ask you, okay, use this method to solve this. No, you can solve it in a different way using a different strategy. Okay? Depending on how you attack it, that is to be accepted as long as you have the correct answer. Okay? So you can also solve, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to solve problems, but you're going to do it by group, okay? So you're going to do it by group. You're going to go to Google Classroom to view your assignment on problem solving. There are two sets. We have part A and part B, no? Yung part A is, there are 4 problems. You're going to use, nandun naman sa instruction, no? But you're going to use yung Paulian's 4-step approach and a combination of different strategies. Pero you need to apply for Paulian's 4-step approach. Tapos yung part B, there are 10 problems there. You are just going to solve 5. You choose 5 problems out of the 10, and then you can also choose the strategy you're going to use to solve that 5 problems that you have chosen. Okay? We are 32 in this class, so maybe, are you going to do the same grouping or I'll assign the group members? We can do the breakout rooms. Pwede rin breakout rooms, tapos you join, kaya lang kaya naggulo kahapon, no? Because some of the students nag-join lahat sa group 8, so wala nang group 7, parang ganon. So you have to have, let's say, a number of members per group para clear. Okay, so we can have automatic groupings, or we can have, let's say, 8 groups, tapos kayo na mag-join kung sa room 1, room 2, room 3, room 4, or you can also meet your own group mates on a different platform. Pwedeng MS Teams, sa Messenger kayo mag-meet, or whatever. If you want to have it in our Zoom, pwede rin. Okay? Kasi wala namang klase ngayon yung partner ko who is using the Zoom. Okay? So, what do you think? Same grouping or new one? Mr. President, what do you suggest? President, are you still there?
Yes po, ma'am. Hello po.
What do you suggest? Same grouping as last time or iba naman ngayon?
Same na lang po, ma'am.
Do you still know your group mates? Okay, I'm going to, while you're trying to decide, I'm going to share kung ano yung gagawin nyo. I'm going to open yung, what you call this, the activity, so you know. Okay, so you decide, same grouping ba or you're going to make a different set this afternoon? Pwede rin maiba eh. Ito, ipapakita ko lang ha. I'm going to share. Okay, so share ko nyo. Ito yung gagawin nyo ha. You have a copy there in your, can you see my screen?
Yes, po, ma'am.
Okay, eto, bakit napunta pala doon? Okay, anyway, i-edit ko muna to ha. You notice, these are the things you're going to, module 3. Bakit dala-dalawa yun? Nandito rin. Ito, you go to the, what you call this, to your Google Classroom. Ito yung assignment by group, okay? So, we have here the problem set number 1 on problem solving, okay? It says here, read and understand the following problems. Teka, can you see it? Nakikita nyo ba? Is it clear?
Clear po, ma'am.
Nakikita po pero hindi po malinaw.
Okay, so we have part A, solve the following problems using Paulian's 4-step approach. So solve this 4 using or showing me step number 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. Okay, so you're going to solve all 4 problems on part A. On part B, it says here, choose and solve 5 problems using any strategies we learned from this afternoon and or your own strategy, as long as you're going to show complete. Wala yung C, D yun, nagkamali. Okay, so there are 10 problems yon, but you're going to choose, no? Within your group, you choose, you decide, which of these 10 are we going to solve? And how do you solve it? Are you going to assign, let's say, 5 members kayo, no? Are we going to assign, okay, ikaw yung number 1, ikaw yung number 2, ikaw yung number 3, or are you going to do, everybody will do it and then compare answers? Pwede rin ganon. Okay, so you have 2 more hours to do this. Okay, you can meet your group mates, okay, and decide, are we going, which of these 10 problems are we going to solve? Okay, ganon lang yon. Okay, so, napunta na ako. Ginagamit na yata ni other professor itong Zoom natin. Anyway, okay, so is that clear already? Are we going to do breakout rooms or you meet your own group mates?
Meet our own group mates lang po, ma'am.
You know already your group mates?
Yes po, ma'am.
That's you. Okay, so are you, please don't forget to share me a group photo after you meet, no? Or before, let's say you're already meeting on a Zoom, na gumawa ka na yung sarili nyong, what you call this, Zoom meeting, please take a group photo. Pwede rin sa Google Meet, pwede rin sa Messenger. Please upload a photo of your, let's say, group number 1. Ito yung picture namin, okay? Now, when you submit your answers, this assignment is due on Monday next week, no? 11:59 p.m. When you submit, you have to indicate yung group members. Halimbawa, you did it in a long bond paper. You write the group number and then the members of the group. Tapos, you give a copy to each of the members of the group, and each member will have the responsibility to upload yung copy niya sa Google Classroom. Can you follow? Kahit isa yung secretary, the secretary will do the output, yung answer and solution, and then give a copy to each member. And then each member, kanya-kanya na mag-submit sa Google Classroom. Can you follow? Ganun gagawin nyo, ha? Okay? So if there are no questions anymore, then I'll end this meeting, and then you can meet your group mates. Okay? So it's up to you. If you want to meet 30 minutes lang and then you dismiss, pwede rin. Okay? Bahala kayo. Or if you want to solve all together and use the 2 hours, okay, that we still have, then it's up to you also. Okay? So you're already old enough to decide. You make your decision, how you meet, okay, where you meet, of course, online. Okay, as long as you have the output on or before Monday next week. Kyle Cabanilla, are you here now?